Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of All Access AM, a Christmas Eve edition. I'm Billy Embody. Thanks for joining me. We are going to do our Christmas extravaganza. I don't know what to call this, but we're going to do Christmas Eve and Christmas show all packaged up in one so that you guys obviously can enjoy your Christmas, but more importantly, I can enjoy my Christmas. Nobody has to be up at 7 a.m. Central Time to record a show on Christmas Day because there's a little guy named Jack who's going to be up early wondering what Santa brought him. And we are going to see what Santa brought, or I should say, what all the ACC schools hope Santa brings. We'll do a little wish list and have some fun with that in later on in the show, but we do have business to attend to on the show. Jeff Brohm being linked to the Michigan job after Louisville's bowl game and before as well. But of course, having been asked about it, kind of formalizing that link now, at least as far as it being out there with him being asked about it. So we'll get into that and kind of where things stand. And a new offensive coordinator comes to the ACC, a big name. We get into that on this edition of All Access AM, presented by our friends at OPW Solutions. The Wednesday shows, of course, always are. And OPW Solutions is your go-to one-stop shop if you're a business owner and you need your commercial services done. You need your landscaping, your power washing, your snow and ice control. OPW Solutions can handle all of that for you if you're in the state of Texas, North Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas. They're expanding in 2026, a big 2026 ahead to our friends at OPW Solutions. So make sure you reach out to them, 214-444-2305, or email them, info@opwsolutions.com. Again, commercial landscaping, pressure washing, snow and ice control, fence and concrete repair, and more. That's opwsolutions.com is where you can find more information on how they can help your business. Jeff Brohm being linked to the Michigan job, not surprising if you watched our Monday show, but he did get asked about it after Louisville defeated Toledo 27-22 in the Bush's Boca Raton Bowl of Beans on Tuesday afternoon, a game that we saw a brawl in. We saw Louisville kind of race out to a lead in a sense over the course of the game, kind of built that lead, and then were able to hold off I would say, pesky Toledo team trying to mount a comeback there. But Louisville gets a bowl win, which is, of course, important. But Jeff Brohm was asked about it after the game, and he just said, quite frankly, I don't speak on other jobs. I'm happy with this one and happy with the victory. So when you look at Michigan and their coaching search, Chris Bayless of our site that covers Michigan, the Wolverine over at On3 Sports, did link him as a candidate for the job. He said, and Pete Nakos of On3 as well has said that Michigan would obviously like a coach in place by that January transfer portal window opening on the 2nd. And if you're Jeff Brohm with under $1 million buyout, you're an attainable candidate for Michigan at this point. A lot of these coaches are very settled in at where they're at. A lot of the moving and shaking has already happened, and Michigan has a lot of questions around it. Will Ward Manuel be your athletic director? Will we see some more changes come across that Michigan athletic department that has had a lot of turmoil over the last few years now? So Brohm currently sits at 94-56 in his career. He's 7-2 in bowl games as well, which is always an interesting stat now with all the opt-outs and things like that. But Louisville did not have that many, really, as far as the opt-outs go. Miller Moss played and at times was, up, at times was down. But Isaac Brown had a terrific touchdown run that we pumped up on our social media feed if you want to find it at All Access AM. Keywan Brown had 112 yards rushing, and Louisville finishes 9-4 on the season. And if you're a Louisville fan, you're disappointed because of where you could have been. And it really all kind of was hit or miss around the time the coaching carousel really heated up. That Penn State job being one that Jeff Brohm was linked to at times. But also now you have this Michigan job, and Jeff Brohm looking for more resources for his program, that's where you could go and have more resources. At the end of the day, though, if you're looking for an early Christmas wish list item for Louisville, it's to keep Jeff Brohm. You can see the program going in the right direction. He's clearly doing more with less, and he's a native son. So you want to keep Jeff Brohm. You want to lock him up with a contract extension and get some more commitments on the way as far as monetary support for Jeff Brohm to keep doing what he's doing. If Louisville can do all of that, I think we could see, Jeff Brohm sign a contract extension. Now, it is Michigan. I mean, it is one of the top jobs in college football. It is a job that has shown that even when Ohio State is rolling from a roster perspective, can go out and beat the Buckeyes. You can kind of always have that feather in your cap opportunity every single year. And Jeff Brohm does a terrific job of getting his teams ready to play for the big games. And that is another selling point. If I'm Michigan and I'm watching Jeff Brohm and how he's handled these big games against a Miami, against a other programs in the past, that's something worth noting. That's an evaluation point when it comes to Jeff Brohm and what he could bring to this job. For Louisville, it's a reason why you need to go ahead and lock him back in. And they've been working on this for a while, and it really maybe exacerbates a point that is probably there in the local community on that side of things. And we'll have to have our friend Alexis Cubitt on maybe next week after the holiday to kind of expand on this. But for Jeff Brohm to be an alum, to be a former Louisville quarterback, and to be this early in his tenure at Louisville and having it in the right direction, and for them to be struggling this way to get some of these commitments from an NIL and monetary support situation, that's concerning for Louisville. But of course, we know that Louisville is also going to support basketball in a big way. So that's something you're always going to have to look over your shoulder at. At Michigan, you're not ever going to have to look over your shoulder when it comes to that type of support for the football team. I mean, just look at Bryce Underwood's contract numbers and what they spent to get him as the 5-star quarterback and number 1 player in the country. So it'll be a fascinating decision for Jeff Brohm if it gets to that point. Of course, everybody knows in coaching searches, you're never offered the job until you're getting introduced for the job. That's just the name of the game these days. But Jeff Brom's name has now been linked to the Michigan job for almost a week now. So really, really interested to watch how this unfolds over the Christmas holiday and probably into the weekend, and see if Jeff Brohm to Michigan heats up or if it kind of dies down, which we've seen a lot of Michigan coaching names kind of die down and not gather as much steam and momentum over the course of this search for Sherrone Moore's replacement. Michigan also looking at guys like Glenn Schumann at Georgia. I first of all, I think that would be a terrific hire. I don't know if he's fish out of water in terms of, going from the South and the SEC to up north in a job like that. But man, he is somebody that would recruit really well there. Being a guy who's from the state of Texas as well, I think he would be just outstanding and could really be a really intriguing coach from a coordinator perspective to take over that program. And he would continue to play a style of defense that Michigan fans would appreciate, but also just an intensity and a mindset that Michigan fans would appreciate. So at this point of the hiring cycle, I'm looking to see which coordinator is ready to take that next leap. And if it's me and I'm Michigan and I have the resources to do kind of whatever I want, I would take a close look at Glenn Schumann for that job if Jeff Brohm turns it down or doesn't end up being a guy who ends up being interested or a guy that they're interested in. So will be interesting to see what happens there. And also, if Glenn Schumann is the one that gets poached, the coaching carousel can maybe kind of slow down just a little bit there. But if Jeff Brohm gets that job and Louisville comes open, man, I don't even know where you turn in that respect. You probably go group of five if you're Louisville and you say, okay, we're going to go find the next best thing and surround him with a little bit more monetary support that we maybe don't have to give to Jeff Brohm in a contract. We can do it in NIL and rev share and this and that for Louisville players. So we appreciate you guys watching All Access AM. There's a bunch of you on this morning. Maybe you're out doing some last minute Christmas errands. Maybe you're getting a workout in before all the Christmas eating and festivities. Maybe you're just going on a walk and the in-laws or the family are already in town and you're saying, okay, I'm just going to go for a walk and listen to All Access AM. We appreciate you guys. Hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, please. If you're not watching on YouTube, I implore you, go to our YouTube channel, All Access AM, and click the subscribe button. We're going to eventually move solely to the All Access AM YouTube channel as far as building that up. We're not going to simulcast on the On the Pony Express channel for those of you that watch there to just build that separate feed out. So make sure you subscribe to the All Access AM YouTube channel and keep it rocking with us. We appreciate all the growth we've seen, and it's as good of a Christmas present as you can give to me is subscribing to the All Access AM YouTube channel. And we're thankful for our friends at Horn Legend as well. Horn Legend, the best way to show up on Christmas Day or for Christmas dinner is in a Horn Legend sports shirt. I've got a couple of these now. I am going to completely revamp my button-down collection, whether it be the performance woven collection that you see the actual button, or I love the hidden button collection that they have with the collar there that kind of gives it a little bit more of a formal look at times, at least in my opinion, and you can hide the button still. And all of this is performance fabric. So if you're me and you sweat, it's a game changer. So make sure you check out our friends at Horn Legend. That's HORN legend.com. Code PONY gets you free shipping. Again, if you want to print out a little picture of whatever you're giving somebody, if you've struck out, if you need to get one more item, this is the place to do it. Horn Legend, fantastic gear from a sports shirt, from a pullover perspective. As it cools down, make sure you got a couple of the pullovers on hand as well. So appreciate Horn Legend for sponsoring the Thursday show. So wanted to mention them as we get into the deeper into the Christmas extravaganza that we're doing here on All Access AM. We do have to mention that we're also seeing a new name at coordinator in the ACC. North Carolina has finalized a deal to hire Bobby Petrino, the former Arkansas offensive coordinator, as North Carolina's next offensive coordinator under Bill Belichick, according to On3's Chris Lowe, Pete Nakos, and Inside Carolina, which if you're a North Carolina fan and you're not on Inside Carolina, you're doing it wrong. It is, I believe they're the number one, maybe they're top three in the entire industry of fan sites with subscriptions. It's just the place to be. Bobby Petrino comes into Chapel Hill, replacing Freddie Kitchens, the offense coordinator who was fired earlier this month. With Bobby Petrino coming into North Carolina, he looks to revitalize a Tar Heels offense that was one of the worst in 2025. They were 119th in scoring, 129th in total offense. And Bobby Petrino is going to look to get more out of Gio Lopez, their former transfer quarterback who came in this year and just, it didn't click. And outside of that opening drive against TCU for North Carolina, where I thought, oh my gosh, this might be going somewhere, it just did not this year offensively. So they bring in Bobby Petrino, and they're looking to get a little bit more out of him than even Arkansas did. And they had Taylon Green, and he was successful at times, but Arkansas was just in such a difficult place from Sam Pittman being kind of that sitting duck, lame duck coach that we hear about, where programs don't have the money to fire them, but they're going to either spend what they spent in NIL and give it one more go, or they're going to try to saddle up more resources for said coach to maybe build a better roster to then improve it and then see the results on the field. Maybe that even be with a new head coach. Bobby Petrino never got the opportunity to be the Arkansas head coach. He had a couple of opportunities there in the interim period to maybe build his case, but he didn't end up getting it. With North Carolina hiring Bobby Petrino, they do get one of the best offensive minds in college football, in my opinion. I'm still bullish on what Bobby Petrino can bring to this North Carolina offense. Where North Carolina has to fit itself in is acquiring talent on that offense. That is an offense that did not have enough talent, at least from when I watched it, to compete at a high level. And Gio Lopez is a part of that. He's somebody that's going to have to figure things out in this Bobby Petrino offense. But Bobby Petrino has an ability to bring the best out of players, especially at the quarterback position. He's really, really good at it. You've seen what he's done at Texas A&M as well when he was Jimbo Fisher's offensive coordinator. They were able to get up to 33 points per game, top 25 offense in scoring. Bobby Petrino still has it. So there's a lot of laughter around this hire because Bill Belichick, Bobby Petrino, kind of their off-field lives. But Bobby Petrino is a really good football coach, and I am intrigued to see how this goes. North Carolina has one of the best recruiting classes in the ACC. They have to follow it up with a really good transfer portal haul to build talent for Bobby Petrino to now take that offense and build it into something that has a shot to finish, let's just say, in the top half of college football. That would be a major improvement. That would be an incredible job by Bobby Petrino to get to that level if he could do it. So quite the time in Chapel Hill where Bobby Petrino takes over as the offensive coordinator. And I think for North Carolina, when you look at their wish list, and we've now done Louisville, right, everybody? We've done North Carolina now because Bobby Petrino is going to hope for some Christmas magic. Maybe all of the carrots and cookies that Bill Belichick is leaving out for Bobby Petrino to come down the chimney with an offensive identity, with an offensive prowess. Maybe that magic comes into the fold in 2026 for the Tar Heels. So we've done Louisville. That's retaining Brohm. North Carolina, their wish list involves all the Christmas magic from Bobby Petrino sprinkled on that offense. So we've got a bunch of ACC schools to get to on the wish list, and it is going to be a fun little episode. So we're going to have some fun with it. It's not going to be this super serious rest of the way podcast, but I do want to get to bowl games as well and talk about those because we do have a handful of them to get to. We have 5 games to talk about as well, and we'll mix in the Christmas wish list for these ACC teams that we're going to talk about. Of course, Louisville got the win over Toledo Tuesday in the Bush's Boca Raton Bowl of Beans, which is hilarious. Isaac Brown, shout out to him, man. 100 yards on the ground, just looked the part, looked like his old self, and we love it. We're big Isaac Brown fans on this podcast, so big day running the football for him and Kewan Brown to help out Miller Moss in that offense to get that win over Toledo. But let's head out west. The Hawaii Bowl. Cal playing Hawaii. This is a fun one as I'm just a big fan of this bowl game. I remember growing up watching it all the time because it was the only game I felt like on Christmas Eve that was at night. So you're sitting around, you're kind of waiting for things to happen as far as the Christmas story or this or that. Well, you had the Hawaii Bowl. That's what you could count on. That was kind of the allure of playing in it too. It was on Christmas Eve, and of course you're out there in Hawaii, and then you fly back and you get to do family with your Christmas. That is always something that stuck in my mind watching that game play out as I was growing up and seeing all of that happen. And as we get to Cal Hawaii, let's start with this: the wish list for Cal. Cal hired Tosh Lupoi. They have an opportunity to really build a little bit of an identity on a defensive perspective that they've had at moments this year. Cal's defense, one of the best in terms of defending the pass. We've seen what they've done, of course, ruining SMU season at the end of the year. They've gone out and upset Louisville when they were kind of at their peak. Cal's been in a lot of games and really had some opportunities to ruin some seasons as well. You look at the Virginia game as well. What Cal wants, in my opinion, if I'm Cal wants on their Christmas list an ability to recruit at a high level under Tosh Lapoy. And it is an environment out in Berkeley that needs a shot in the arm, and they bring in a native son in Tosh Lapoy to bring it, and there's a lot of excitement around that. But this is a recruiting class that ranks 49th nationally. It is not one of the best in the ACC. It is actually in the bottom half, 13th in the ACC in the 2026 recruiting rankings, according to Rivals industry ranking. That is a problem. That is where it has to start with Cal. They've got a great education out there. They do have, I think, one of the most exciting quarterbacks in college football coming back for next year in Jaron Kiowa Sagapatelli, who is confirmed to coming back. So sell that vision. Sell the vision of being in a defense that can make you into a pro, like Tosh Lapoy has really helped out a lot of guys at Oregon with. Come into Jordan Somerville's offense and play with Sagapatelli. They've got to get him some help on the ground from a run game perspective. So go out and find a way to recruit at a high level. That's what Tosh Lapoy really built his career early on with. I mean, there are some great recruiting stories with Tosh Lapoy involved on that recruiting side of things. So Cal, they want a recruiting influx. That's what they want of talent. Get it from the high school level, get it nationally. That would be good for the ACC to bring in some talent like they used to, like Aaron Rodgers, Marshawn Lynch, Deshaun Jackson, guys like that. It would be something else to see this Cal program kind of revert back to the level of at least skill position talent that we've seen in that program in the past. Tosh Lapoy has the recruiting chops to at least put them in position to get some of those guys if they'd like. So Cal's wish list there is to recruit at a high level under Tosh Lapoy. And I know some of these are broad. I could really drill down, and some of these I will when it comes to what they need. And some of them, I think they're good teams and they maybe just need a little tweak or something there. So some of these will reflect that. Some of these are big picture. Some of these are very targeted needs, looking at you, Clemson, looking at UFSU, looking at you, Miami, and some of them will group together. Cal does take on Hawaii, though, in the Hawaii Bowl, and this is an opportunity for the ACC to kind of get right after Stanford blew a lead and fumbled it away against Hawaii earlier in the year. Maybe the other team in that rivalry, Cal, can take up arms against Hawaii and finish the job. This would be a really nice win for Cal and the ACC just as a whole. When you look at the ACC in bowl games, they've got the NC State Memphis win. They've got Miami beating Texas A&M. They've got Louisville beating Toledo. Cal can make sure it's 4-0 to start bowl season for the ACC. So you're out west. You're having a good time. Cal has an opportunity to get this one done. And I really haven't been able to watch too much of Hawaii this year, so I don't even know how they can match up. But, man, I feel like this Cal team showed so much by going out and beating SMU the way they did, even though they allowed SMU to come all the way back. This is a Cal team that is very good when it wants to be, and they've shown that all year long. And it's a credit to, I think, this league as well. And I think you look at the two teams in the conference championship this year, Virginia and Duke. Man, Cal almost beat Virginia. They threw a pick six to make it look worse than it was, and then they took a loss at home against Duke as well. But Cal just has this ability to kind of grind some things out and play a physical brand of football at times. And when they do, it's really fun to watch. So I think Cal is going to beat up Hawaii pretty good in this one and get a win and move on with their season. When you look at this one, as far as the line goes, Cal is a 1.5-point underdog, and this is a home game for Hawaii, basically. So I am not surprised by that. I think Cal goes out and wins by 10. That is my prediction. I don't know a total. I don't know how many points are going to be scored in this one. I like Cal to take care of business in a big way when it comes to getting this one done. So that is Christmas Eve. That is 7 p.m. Central Time on ESPN for those of you looking to watch that one. It's all the way out in Honolulu. Man, what a bowl game. What a trip. Got to get out to Hawaii one day. Looking forward to doing that. So before we go any further, guys, do want to remind you guys that one of our friends of the show as well is the La La Land Foundation. And this holiday season, start planning your 2026 and who you want to be involved with from a charitable perspective. And the La La Land Foundation is one that I can tell you is a perfect fit for so many people. And the reason why is you have this extension of the La La Land kind cafes around the country that are growing. And that whole business is built on kindness. And it's a movement. It's not something that's fake. It's not a marketing play. It is in everything that they do. So when they started the foundation, that was their plan, is to normalize kindness. And when you look at the opportunities that you have to get involved, you can get involved from a monetary perspective. You can buy some of their gear, their hats, and support that way, and support fostered youth and their journey to growing into adults that are ready to go into society and assimilate into society. So you can help monetarily. That is a huge way. And they are looking for corporate partners. So if you are somebody who could make that type of a change, go to lalalandfoundation.com and get involved and just start that process. See if it's a fit for you and your company. And that way you can also do in-kind donations. You can also do the corporate sponsorship route if you want, or volunteer with skill development or personal growth journeys to help the foundation improve the lives of so many youth. That's what it's all about, is helping shape our future, and they do it through kindness. So if you haven't had a cup of a La La Land coffee, it's unbelievable. We kicked off some last minute errands with that yesterday. So really enjoy our partnership with the La La Land Kind Cafe and La La Land Foundation. So we appreciate their support of All Access AM. If you're tuning in, we did already break down Jeff Brohm and Michigan. We talked about Bobby Petrino as the new offensive coordinator at North Carolina. And now we have 4 bowl games on Saturday to talk about, and 4 pretty good matchups as well. Saturday, December 27th is that really high-end, final weekend of 2025, where we're going to get a lot of quality bowl games, a bunch on TV that day. But this is an ACC podcast. This is where you get the goods on the ACC teams. 4 ACC teams we get to talk about and dish out their Christmas gifts, or what we would hope that they would get under the Christmas tree, I guess. Let's lead off with the 11 a.m. Central Time matchup, Pitt versus East Carolina on ESPN. And I take that back. Guys, it's a 10 a.m. matchup on ESPN. I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I just glanced right over it. 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Eastern, Pitt versus East Carolina on ESPN in the Go Bowling Military Bowl. Pitt does come into this one against a East Carolina team that I think is pretty good and going in the right direction. If you're a program that is looking to the future and maybe thinking there's going to be a coaching change in 2026, East Carolina might be a place to look because of the job that coaching staff has done with Blake Harrell taking over that program and being promoted. He's fit in really well. They're 8-4 overall. They're 5-1 at home. They finished 6-2 in the AAC. They did lose a tight one to NC State, 24-17 to open the season, and they lost 34-13 to BYU. So they're battle tested in that respect, and they've gotten close to really being a force in that AAC. They almost beat Tulane earlier this year. So they have some tools to beat Pitt, and Pitt is coming off of a disappointing finish to the regular season. And what really they're trying to do here is avoid not another collapse, because their schedule just was what it was, but they weren't able to get across the finish line after that Georgia Tech win that they got and shocked the Yellow Jackets down in Atlanta. They couldn't do that against Miami to find a way into the ACC championship game. And of course, they lost to Notre Dame in a game that really wasn't that close in the end, as they lost that one 37-15 to the Irish. Of course, the Irish staying at home this year, but Pitt has an opportunity here to finish well. And I think that's the biggest thing here, because if you can get a win from Cal over Hawaii, Pitt is up next as far as who can keep that ACC streak going. And if Pitt can improve to 9-4, that's another 9-win team. The ACC has a lot at stake in bowl games, in a sense that there's a bunch of teams that can finish with 9 wins. It seems like you have Duke that can finish with 9 wins. You have a Pitt team that can finish with 9 wins. You have an SMU team that can finish with 9 wins. Georgia Tech's already at 9 wins. NC State is done at 8-5. Louisville's got to 9 wins. Wake Forest can get to 9 wins. So there are some opportunities here for some statements to be made by the ACC teams in bowl games this year, and figure out how to continue to raise that profile of the conference. And what better way than a nationally televised game for Mason Heinchel to continue to get his name out there? He's had a terrific season. It didn't end the way he wanted it to. I think there's still some work to be done as far as what Pitt can do for him to get more talent around him. He is somebody that, as the days and weeks go by, you've got to be really watching closely if he is going to announce his return to Pitt. He is somebody that they would obviously love to retain, but they're not going to have Desmond Reed or Kyle Lewis in this one, as they've opted out. So that does make it a very difficult matchup without 2 of your key players in this game. But East Carolina is still a group of 5 team. They're going to have some opt-outs, I would imagine, as well, just with the way the transfer portal is. Pitt is favored by 9.5. I don't love that spread, I'll be honest with you. I could see a world where East Carolina can find a way to keep this one close. That's just who they are. They played really well in against better competition this year, so keep an eye on that. But the Mason Heinchel train has to start taking off for 2026, and that is on Pitt's wish list, is a commitment from Mason Heinchel to stay in this program and keep developing under Cade Bell, the offensive coordinator. And if you're a college coach out there and you're looking for an offense coordinator, Cade Bell's really good. And I'm not trying to get him out, but man, Cade Bell is a really good offensive coordinator, and you can see what he does at the quarterback position at a high level. And so on Pitt's Christmas wish list is to keep Mason Heinchel in the fold for this one, as they do look to make the most of their 39th all-time postseason appearance, and they'll look to get a win to finish off at 9-4 this season. East Carolina comes in at 8-4, like I said. This is the 5th meeting all-time between Pitt and East Carolina. Series is tied at 2, so winner gets that critical game 5. Who knows what will happen in the best of 7, but the teams last met in 1992. 37-31 Pitt win. So Mason Heinchel in this top 20 scoring offense looks to create some fireworks out there in Annapolis. Morning game, Saturday, 10 a.m. for us in the Central Time. It'll be a good one, though, as I have a lot of respect for what Blake Harrell and East Carolina is doing in their program's direction. So keep an eye on that one, and keep an eye on our friends at Socorro Tequila as well. I know I'm loading you guys up on our friends here, but it is the giving time of year, and Socorro Tequila is a great stocking stuffer. It is an award-winning tequila. Make sure you go to socorrotequila.com and take advantage of it. Free shipping on 3 bottles or more. So a little late for Christmas, but perfect if you say, okay, I want to give this a try. I want to try the Añejo, Blanco, Reposado. Let's do it. Let's order it, and we'll try it around New Year when it gets here. Perfect. Do that. But also go to your local liquor store. You can find it online as well. See where they've got it. You can click the Find Us button, and it'll take you right to Socorro Tequila and tell you where to get it according to your area and your location and all of that. And it is just agave yeast and water. It's fantastic. I can't wait to make the old fashioned that is on there. So make sure you check out our friends at Socorro Tequila as well and support them. They're great friends of ours here at All Access AM. So we continue on previewing this big Saturday of bowl games. 11 a.m. on ABC. This could be the opt-out bowl. This is Penn State Clemson, and a matchup where you have two teams that just do not have their normal capabilities together. Penn State has completely floundered this year outside of almost beating Indiana. I mean, they were close against Oregon, but that really kick-started the James Franklin getting fired route. And then you have Clemson, who could very well be without their entire starting defense, basically, as far as opt-outs, injuries. There's also going to be a bunch of players that are unavailable due to injury in that one. So this game, this matchup in the Pinstripe Bowl up in Yankee Stadium is just oozing with excuses on both sides. And it is a brand name game in terms of Penn State playing Clemson, but they are playing in a baseball stadium. They are playing with a bunch of questions around the futures of both of these programs as Matt Campbell takes over at Penn State. And Clemson is trying to find a way to build off of what was a strong finish to the year and go into the offseason, revamp the roster a little bit, find a new quarterback, and get back to the level that Clemson has been at for the majority of the last, decade and a half, almost 2 decades now under Dabo Swinney. Clemson minus 3.5 in this one, total set at 48.5. What a game that this could be. But Dabo Swinney in this program is going to have a lot of questions around this team going into the future. Garrett Riley, the offensive coordinator, needs a new quarterback. We'll get to that in just a moment. But also Garrett Riley in this offense severely underperformed with the talent level that they have. Now, you can make the argument that the offensive line was not recruited very well, and that is a big piece of that. You can make the argument that they let the running back position completely fall to the hands of Adam Randall, and a program like Clemson with a proud running back tradition, it's unacceptable. And there's a lot of things that I'm sure Clemson media, Clemson fans are upset with, but I think that's one of the most egregious ones right there is that Clemson went into the season with Adam Randall being the guy. And it was just this kind of understanding that he was going to get the job done. Well, not the case, not close, and not good enough. And when you have a first-year starting quarterback in Christopher Vezina next year who could have his shot, that's really unacceptable. So there's a lot to get to on Clemson's future, and we'll get to a lot of that as we move forward in 2026. We're going to do kind of some podcasts that might even be just team focused entirely, where we spend an hour going through every team. So buckle in for that during the heat of basketball season. But if we do it every single week, guess what, guys? If we pick one day, we're going to get to spring ball rather quickly with all these breakdowns of these teams. But when you look at Clemson in this matchup and going against Penn State, I worry because Cade Klubnik's going to have to do so much. He's really going to have to be that guy for them to step up and really make some serious moves in this game for them, because this is a Clemson offense that is going to be without a lot of key pieces with 30 scholarship players out, whether it be injury or opt-outs or transfers. This is a bowl game that can go all sorts of different ways. I'm not even going to try to predict it. I'll just give you the spread and you guys make your decision. Again, it's Clemson minus 3.5, but Cade Klubnik does get the ball on Saturday at 11 a.m. on ABC, looking to continue their winning ways to finish out this season. They've won their last few games, got a win over South Carolina. Clemson, as far as a wish list, though, I don't know. I've gone back and forth with this one. I think if you look at Clemson and what they're able to do offensively, you could say, okay, going to give Christopher Vezina his shot, his opportunity, but we've got to get him some help. or you go straight up. Clemson needs to go out and get a elite running back out of the transfer portal. I lean the latter because I think having a strong running back can cover up a lot of things from a quarterback perspective that clearly all those wide receivers and all that talent out there at the skill position spots for the most part this year couldn't cover up because they were one-dimensional. So I look at Clemson's wish list. I look at a running back, and I even had it down here, game time decision, QB or RB. I'm going running back. Clemson needs a running back out of the portal. They need that to be what Santa leaves them under the Christmas tree. And there's a fascinating number of really, really solid running backs in the transfer portal or expected to be in the transfer portal. Go get 2 of them and figure it out from there because you just can't leave this run game up to question moving forward. When you look at the running backs in the portal, you look at a guy like Hollywood Smothers. Man, that would make a lot of sense. A guy from Charlotte comes over from NC State. You bring him in. He's got that speed. He's got that ability. He's been in the league. You know he's proven. Boom, done. Go get him. You know, you could go a bunch of different routes on this. I mean, you could go find a Mekhi Frazier, and it didn't work out for him at Michigan, but he's a really, really talented player. You could go grab a second running back. There's all sorts of opportunities at the running back position that are going to be there for Clemson if they want it. I'm going running back as Clemson's wish list under the Christmas tree from Santa. They need one. They need it badly, and they've got to figure out a way to get it done. So that's Clemson's wish list on top of maybe finishing out the season with a win over a interim coach in Penn State. So Georgia Tech BYU, 2:30 p.m. on ABC in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That's right. Georgia Tech looking to finish with a 10-win season with a win over BYU, who only losses on the year are to Texas Tech in Big 12 play and in the conference championship game. When you look at this Georgia Tech team, I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned about what they're going to look like. They do not have Buster Faulkner, offensive coordinator. They are going to be going through it as far as seeing what Chris Winkie has available to him and is learning maybe what he wants as far as a play sheet, a play calling, all of those things. But you have a Georgia Tech team that does have Haynes King at the helm. And they want to win this football game. They want to show that they're not that team that sputtered to the finish line in the last couple of games of the regular season and could not get it done. They want to finish with a really strong taste in their mouth, so to speak, as far as their season and what they accomplished. Because there's a lot of guys on that Georgia Tech team that you probably sit there and you look at Georgia Tech, you look at Virginia. You look at, SMU, those are teams that with these long layoffs should have flushed all of that end of the season drama down the drain. But you do have that maybe hanging in the back of their mind. We did not finish. How do we finish? That is the question that Brent Key and this Georgia Tech team must answer in the Pop-Tart Bowl. They have a lot on the line as far as getting a 10-win season and capping this historic season for Georgia Tech. BYU favored by 4.5. And I got to be honest, I like it. I think BYU is going to beat Georgia Tech. Kalani Sitake is a really, really, really good coach. These are two coaches that identify and prioritize similar things. They really want to be hard-nosed football teams. They want to, reflect that edge that both of them coach with, that both of them live with in terms of their mindset. And so I'm going to go ahead and pick BYU to win this one. I like them by 7. I just don't see this one being, down to the wire. And BYU will dish out the ACC's first bowl loss. I kind of think Clemson. I know I said I wouldn't make a pick. I definitely wouldn't bet it if I was anybody out there. But I do think BYU dishes the first bowl loss to the ACC, which would not be bad. ACC Big 12, but man, you're looking at a bowl slate at that point where if I get my predictions right over these next few games and you have the games that have already been played, the ACC is sitting at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6-1 with only a few games to go in the bowl slate. So It's funny, nobody talks about how well the ACC has started off in the bowl season because bowl games don't matter. But here we are. Virginia, Missouri, 6:30 p.m. Central on ABC. And oh, by the way, before we get to that, I almost forgot Georgia Tech's present. I mean, they almost got coal. That's almost what they got because they did not finish the regular season. Georgia Tech, they get a pass rush. They get a pass rush. They were uh, poor in turnover margin. I believe they were around the 100th mark in turnover margin. That Georgia Tech defense has got to figure out a way to take away the football because right now they're not stopping it. They've got to be that feast or famine style of defense. And for Georgia Tech, if they can get a pass rush and force some of these quarterbacks like CJ Bailey, who had all day, every day, and I guess defensive line is really what we should say because you've got to replace an Achilles stone, for example. Georgia Tech has to find an upgraded defensive line. I think it starts with a pass rush. They're kind of completely middle of the pack. They're actually just like a little bit on the bottom half of college football in terms of sack rate and sacks. So they just aren't there yet as a unit. They did improve a little bit this year, but it's not good enough. That defense did not play at a good enough level for this team to be uh, to accomplish what it wanted to accomplish. I mean, that's the reality of it. You know, if they don't lose to NC State, I think they're still in the ACC championship, but also they're maybe playing with a different mindset down the stretch. Maybe there's not all these questions about how bad the defense is, how bad the defense is. Maybe they're just a really good football team. And Miami's shown you what defense can do. And Georgia Tech needs to go out and get it. I think it starts with the defensive line. I actually like some of their talent in the secondary, but the defensive line for Georgia Tech has to be addressed by Santa Claus, aka Brent Key, and this Georgia Tech personnel department for next year's football team. They've got an opportunity to do it in the transfer portal. Wake Forest just lost one of their top defensive linemen who is going to be a high dollar program changing defensive tackle for somebody out there. Can they get him? I'm not sure. Mateen Ibarragas. He was just one of the best this year in college football, and he's going to go get paid somewhere, and he's going to be super coveted. But maybe Georgia Tech can go back the truck up and get somebody like him as he finished, just as one of the best defensive tackles in college football. So quite the rise for him, and he was able to make a lot of moves this season. And so Georgia Tech, go out and get you a defensive lineman. He would be a good start, Mateen Igarabuo, and I butchered that, but that would have been Wake's wish list to keep him. But we'll get to Wake's in just a little bit as they play in the new year on the same day SMU does. Virginia versus Missouri, 6:30 p.m. Central Time in Jacksonville in the Gator Bowl. This would be a great bowl game to go to. First of all, you got Jacksonville Beach. I'm not a huge fan of Jacksonville, but Jacksonville Beach is awesome. Great spot to get out to for those of you out on the East Coast. Been a couple times. You can grab like Airbnbs right off the beach and walk. It's awesome. Then you have TPC Sawgrass. Good opportunity there for some golf around the winter time. So this is always a really coveted bowl game, and it's a good time of year. I'm not sure. I think they spend Christmas there, but nevertheless, you have a chance to spend Christmas in a sunny destination in a sense. But Virginia, Missouri, Chandler Morris is awaiting his eligibility waiver at some point. So let's start there with the Virginia Christmas wish list. Chandler Morris would love to have another year of eligibility, and he's going to need a waiver. They're exploring the possibility of him getting that waiver, and they are talking with Chandler Morris about pursuing that extra year. And it is going to be something that I would say could be the make or break thing for UVA going into next year as far as expectations goes. His first season was in 2020, which is free because of COVID. Played 4 games in 2021 and then redshirted and then was sidelined with an injury in 2022. And he could be given a waiver for that 2022 season. And really, I mean, it's there. it is absolutely an opportunity for UVA to get. So would be something to keep an eye on there for Chandler Morris and UVA if they can get him. Virginia, Missouri in this bowl game. It is a really, really good matchup, but it took a little bit of a hit as Bo Prabula is transferring from Missouri, the really impressive quarterback who transferred from Penn State to take that starting job. Missouri's favored by 4.5 points here. I have not seen if Ahmad Hardy is playing. I'll try to look up their opt outs right now, but you have Bo Prabula, who's skipping the bowl game. But as far as who else is going to play, it seems like everybody is going to play. Ahmad Hardy is one of the best running backs in college football, and he is absolutely going to be a handful. But right now, I mean, we really haven't seen too many Mizzou players opting out of this one. So they're going to be at full strength. This is where it gets dicey. You don't have your quarterback in Bo Prabula, but Missouri does have a quarterback who's really been able to step up as a whole and really kind of give them a little bit of a something at times, and that's Matt Zollers. I actually don't know if I saw him portaling as well. So that yeah, there we go. Okay, he is going to start. He did get an opportunity to step into that starting role. He threw for 400 yards in the course of a few games this season with Bo Prabula out, and had some mop up duty before that. But for the most part, played okay. 3-1 touchdown to INT ratio, not a difference maker in a sense. Had a tough outing against Texas A&M, as you would expect. Played perfectly fine against Mississippi State as well, as they blew out the Bulldogs in that one, in what was a game that just was smooth sailing for the most part for this Missouri team. So he's experienced now. He's been through the SEC. Chandler Morris and this Virginia team is going to have their hands full. I hate to pick this one, the way of Virginia losing as well, but I just think that Missouri run game is going to be too much for them. Here's the thing. Yeah, you have this type of a matchup all the time where you see these teams and you wonder who's more motivated, who's the team that can come in. Well, Missouri being favored by 4.5 on a neutral field, it means they'd be a touchdown favorite at home. That says a lot. Vegas sometimes knows, but it is a really good matchup for Virginia to maybe show who they really could have been if they would have been able to take care of business against Duke in the ACC championship. Remember, their lone loss in conference play this year was without Chandler Morris. They did lose early in the season in a 35-31 game to NC State. But also, outside of that, they really didn't play a tough schedule. So this is a good test for Virginia to show who they are. Are you a team that was a beneficiary of the schedule that you played, or are you, just a team that, over the course of a couple games just didn't have it, or didn't have your quarterback, and you're much better than it, I think, because I'm not the highest on Virginia as far as their overall resume relative to what they played. But I've got to pick Missouri. I think this one's close, though. I think we see this one be kind of like a 31-30 type of game, maybe some wild Gator Bowl moments for this Virginia team as they look to take down one from the SEC. You get to New Year's Eve, though, and that's where we get to have some fun. And I encourage you guys to just line up your day, because this is a all-world start to a 48 hours of football with Duke, Arizona State at 1 p.m. Central Time on CBS in the Sun Bowl, the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. A team in Arizona State that went to the college football playoff last year, Duke, winners of the ACC, and they have a chance to take down an Arizona State team that took a step back, but also does have Kenny Dillingham retained for next season. They do have him back, which is always a good thing when you can retain a coach that's brought you to the college football playoff. And when you take take a look at this matchup. Duke is, I think, the exact type of team that can give Arizona State some fits, quite frankly. Darian Mensah is a really talented quarterback. We saw that at times throughout the year. This Arizona State team has lost Mississippi State on the road, Utah in a blowout, Houston, and they did get their win over Texas Tech, but that was when Texas Tech was without their quarterback, and I think maybe even two quarterbacks. I could be wrong on that, but Arizona State coming off of a rough game, losing to their rival Arizona in the final regular season game. They're kind of a product of, for the most part, a relatively smooth sailing schedule as far as their wins go. They did get a win over TCU early in the season, and so there's that. Duke, though, is super battle tested, kind of similar to Arizona State in a sense, where Arizona State has played an SEC team. They've gotten that type of experience. Duke has played Illinois, Tulane, and they played a good UConn team, but they lost a lot of them too, and that is something that makes this one difficult to predict. But I really like Darian Mensah jumping back in with the Duke program again for his final season. Duke is favored by 3 points in this matchup. The total is set at 49.5. I think Duke gets this one done. I don't know why. Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham, it just seems like they have a good thing going on or whatever. But man, I could see Duke taking this one and getting the win. We'll preview this one closer to it, and we'll save Arizona, SMU, and Wake Forest, Mississippi State for next week as well, and get into those matchups, as well as a massive Miami Ohio State preview we've got to get to as well. But let's do this. Let's wrap up our quick Christmas gifts here for our ACC friends across the world, and we'll just run it down here. That what I've got, kind of a couple quick thoughts on the Christmas list. And for the most part, we've gotten a lot of these, but let's talk about Duke here. Duke, what they need on their Christmas list, they need a Chandler Rivers replacement is what they need in the secondary. And Lyric Rawls is a Kansas defensive back transfer who's really talented, and Duke is among the programs pursuing him. There are some big name schools involved with them as well. I look at Duke and you say, okay, that's a really good kid who plays really well. Get him into the secondary, get him in as a transfer, and finish addressing your transfer needs in the secondary out from there. But get somebody you can count on right away in Lyric Rawls. And before we get to the rest of our Christmas wish list, do want to remind you guys one last time here, and I'll leave the QR code up the rest of the time. Hit the QR code and please subscribe to our All Access AM channel. Please, it is a huge help when you do it. It really helps us grow the channel and grow what we're doing. And it is the best Christmas gift you can give me is subscribing to our channel. It takes nothing. It's free. It doesn't sign you up for some crazy emails or whatever. It is just the best way to support. So please do that. Let's go back to the top, though. A team that is not at the top, near the top, anywhere in the top, BC. BC has announced that they are committing more money to college football and doing it at a high level. BC needs to continue to invest in the NIL department on the revenue sharing side and give Bill O'Brien what he needs to compete at a high level by getting him some offensive skill talent in that program. And Dylan Lonergan and Grayson James, they didn't have enough to work with this year. They really didn't. And so there's a lot of things that have to change around that program, and they're almost like BC is just at a weird stage where they're almost like a group of 5 team trying to find their way as far as resources go, which is scary. And I saw somebody tweeted something that BC over the last 5 years is bottom 5 in the net rankings of high major basketball or something. It's crazy. They've got to figure it out. Miami, a team that will play on New Year's Eve in the college football playoff in the Cotton Bowl against Ohio State. You are going to, as I just lost my camera there, Miami needs a quarterback, but under the Christmas tree, you would hope that they would have a win over Ohio State. That is a very simple thing that Miami can get gifted from old St. Nick. And if they get that, then you're going to be a very, very, very happy Hurricane. So I think if you're Miami, you're looking for a quarterback in the transfer portal. That is always something you'd love to find if you are a Miami fan. But they have a lot Can anybody hear me? Can anybody hear me out there? Test 1, 2. Okay, all right. I think I got you guys. All right. I think I'm back. I appreciate Jerry for telling me. Thank you. Shout out Jerry for telling me. I hope you guys can still hear me. Let me know if you can't. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Jerry. Let's run this back. Jerry, I'm going to talk with you here. I assume that all of that sound issue started right back in Miami with the camera going out during that. And just give me an okay if that's the case. And I'll run this back and edit it in post-production. Miami, under the Christmas tree, a quarterback of the future for them to replace Carson Beck. But of course, they have bigger goals in mind. They have a shot to win a national championship. That would be the biggest Christmas gift for them, of course. But that would be something that would come in the new year, of course. We're resetting this because I like I said, lost sound there, but Florida State at quarterback. This is a position that with Tommy Castellanos declaring for the draft and him leaving the program without any eligibility left and Brock Glenn leaving the program, they've got to get addressed. And I look at somebody like Ashton Daniels leaving Auburn, and I don't say that as a sexy name for Florida State fans to be like, oh, wow, like, thanks a lot giving us a backup quarterback from Auburn. I'm talking about fit here. I think Ashton Daniels is a really sharp kid who could develop and be somebody that can compete and has experience. And maybe he doesn't have the flash, but he would bring a lot of competition to that room, and he would be in a better situation. And under Gus Malzahn, find a way to be that dude for Florida State. If not, they need to go out and find somebody else as well. But it is a super competitive market for transfer quarterbacks, and that's something that Florida State is going to have to deal with. So it's going to be really interesting to watch. If I'm Florida State, I'm bringing in one or two quarterbacks, either one really beast mode one or two quarterbacks to compete. Kind of like Ole Miss. They had Austin Simmons coming back this year. They added more, and that's how they got Trinidad Chambliss running the show. So we went to Virginia Tech next, and Virginia Tech is a team that needs a quarterback. Kyron Drones, he's gutted it out. He's tried his best. He couldn't figure it out and didn't have the help. You know, that's the new thing at Virginia Tech is spending money to make this into a program that you can be proud of offensively. Something that James Franklin, top of his list, is charged with in fixing and working that out. And for Virginia Tech, they've got to find a quarterback. Bo Pribula at Missouri, who's leaving, it seems like a match made in heaven for him to reunite with James Franklin. So I would keep an eye on that under the Christmas tree for Virginia Tech. We've talked about Cal, but Stanford needs a run game. They're 133rd in rush yards per rush. That is horrible. That is bottom of the barrel. And it's not for lack of trying. They were still 98th in terms of rush attempts per game. The passing game wasn't much better, but they just didn't have a run game to lean on. And so Stanford has to find that. And the problem for Stanford is they're going to have to go to the high school ranks and hit on some of these running back evaluations and get them that way because they can't take transfers. Stanford, if they want to get back to what Andrew Luck wants out of a team, they've got to go back to running the football and being physical. So Stanford need to find a run game under the Christmas tree and go from there. When I look at the rest of the list that I had here, NC State lost Hollywood Smothers to the portal, and they have to find a way to surround CJ Bailey with talent, to figure some things out schematically that can help him. But if they don't, they're going to be really struggling, once again, to retain CJ Bailey, because he has kind of been a part of this team that we've seen it be a little bit of a farm system at times for other teams that can spend big, NC State retaining CJ Bailey is the biggest thing that they can get from a Christmas gift perspective. It's very similar to a Mason Heinschel getting retained by a Pitt. That's what they're working towards at NC State, is to retain CJ Bailey. There's a lot of rumors floating around. I'm sure Miami and Florida State would love to bring him back to his home state, but you've got to find a way, if you're NC State, to retain CJ Bailey. We hit on Louisville, we hit on Duke, we hit on UVA. The last one, but certainly not least on my list, Wake Forest. And they've just been incredible this year. And also I have SMU too, but of course I glanced over them because I cover them day to day. Wake Forest needs that big donation like Virginia had. That's what they need. They need a influx of money into that program so that they avoid being kind of a farm team, that their top player every year on each side of the ball is picked off, like they might see in the transfer portal. Wake is a really, really good upstart program with Jake Dickert and the job he's done there. They've got to figure it out and fix that aspect of it, and it takes somebody making a big donation. So keep an eye on that. Finally, SMU, they need some defense in basketball. It's the only school that I mentioned some things on the basketball side of things, but in all seriousness, for football, they'll need some help on the defensive side. They need defensive tackles. They need all of that under their Christmas tree. But, man, their basketball team right now defensively is so bad that offensively they have so much talent. They have a chance to figure it out, but SMU's basketball team needs some defense. So we hope you guys have a great Christmas. We will be off tomorrow, Christmas Day. We went a little bit long today for you guys as well, and just running through some things. But look, we really appreciate you guys listening. Thanks so much, Jerry, for telling me about the sound. I wouldn't have noticed and would have been just really bummed about that. But we appreciate all of you guys who subscribe to All Access AM. Hit the QR code in the top corner of your screen to subscribe to the YouTube channel. It costs you absolutely nothing to do. Really appreciate all of you guys. I hope you guys have a Merry, Merry Christmas. I'm going to go watch Christmas Vacation a bunch today and tomorrow and get that on the TV while we finish up a little bit of wrapping and starting the holiday festivities. So Merry Christmas, everyone. We will see you guys next Monday on All Access AM, 7 to 8 a.m. Central. I'm Billy Embody. Thanks so much for listening, everyone. Have a great Christmas and Bowl Saturday.